Mickey and Matt, yeah, they're cranking it up, jumping down theories like a hyperactive pup. Rambo Joe lit the fuse, Dave said take control. Now we're broadcasting live above the rabbit hole. Ancient aliens, lizard kings, government plots and shadowy things, laughing while they're chasing the truth in the dark. Are we crazy? Sure, but that's the spark. So smash that like button, buckle in tight. We're going down deeper than a cue drop tonight. 10 for shining, the jokes are rolling. Hold on folks, the truth is scrolling. Yeah, smash that like button. Welcome to the show. We're live above the rabbit hole. Mickey's on the mic, dropping jokes like bombs. Matt's taking notes while he's reading the Psalms. Bigfoot, chemtrails, a man in black. Whatever you believe, it'll make you laugh back. Was it real? Was it stage? Was the moon landing fake? Ask the boys, they know the code, or at least they'll improvise an episode. Smash that like button, let the madness roll. Welcome to the wild side, above the rabbit hole.
Hello, world. Hello, everyone. Thank you. It is Above the Rabbit Hole. I am Mickey, and that is my handsome partner, Matt Davis. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, thank you. Episode 1. Here we go, buddy.
This is it, man. Everybody, Rambo, News Treason, Patrick Gunnels, everybody that got us started with the Rumble folks. Thank you so much. Like, we're blown away.
Sincere thanks. Welcome to all the new subscribers, and thanks to all the old subscribers for following us over to this new show and this new format.
And Matt, since this is episode 1, I want you to know I'm going to make an honest effort with the swear jar.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to not put anything in it, especially.
Look, I don't even know if you can afford to put any more in there.
Right now,
yeah.
I'm going in debt if I say anything. But I will say this, especially in honor of our guest today, because, Matt, our first episode for people coming in is about UFOs. And you and I are novice, but we're fans.
We are, but we've been just fascinated with this subject for a long time. We would talk about it a lot on the old show, but it wasn't really the format to dig super deep into it. So we're really excited to do that today.
And for those watching the show for the first time, just know that Matt and I have a show about learning. That's what we try to do. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong. It is or it isn't. And today we're going to find out what is and isn't. And Matt, why don't you go ahead and bring in our super guest today? So excited.
Yeah, so we are super excited to explore the topic of UFOs today with our special guest. He is a former Army Special Forces commander. He has held leadership roles in various agencies and programs within the U.S. intelligence community. He's got extensive knowledge that encompasses UFOs, remote viewing, psychic warfare, and he has collaborated with near-death experience researchers, ufologists, and experts in consciousness studies. Notably, he has been associated with Robert Bigelow from the outset of the Skinwalker Ranch phenomenon. So I think we're going to try to talk a little bit about that today. He's recognized for his pioneering work on non-lethal weapons and the military applications of the paranormal, and he's an accomplished author as well. I highly recommend these two books, UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, and Realities, and also his latest release, which is Reality Denied, Firsthand Experiences with the Things That Can't Happen But Did. We are honored to welcome our guest today, Colonel John Alexander. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Well, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here, I think.
Would you mind starting off by telling us just a little bit about you? And I mean, when did it start with you with UFOs, and how did the military get you involved with all this?
That's several different questions.
Yes.
We'd like to hear several different answers, if you don't mind.
Well, no, when I first got interested, and now understand, I've been old enough to actually remember World War II.
Yeah.
So in 1947, I was 10, and I went to a rather unusual school, which is now University of Wisconsin at La Crosse. But then it was a teacher's college, and in order to train teachers, they needed pupils. And so there were a number of us, and they followed our families and all of that. But being a unique school at the time. Remember the time frame now, which is quite, we're talking 47 as
That's right around Roswell, right?
Well, it was just the whole field was just first, balloons up there seeing, and there was a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Roswell actually came, well, it was 47, but I was more interested in UFOs. And what happened was they had the system was pretty primitive right now, but they actually had a radio system in the school, and they would let the students pick a topic and talk about it. And so the topic I chose to talk about then was UFOs.
Wow.
Remember, we're just flying saucers were just being, coming into public consciousness at all.
And this was back in the days when if you brought up UFOs, you paid, I guess you were a kid, but you pay a little bit of a price back in 1947 if you're talking about UFOs. Am I right?
At that time, it was not in the public consciousness per se, so it wasn't even getting pushed down at that juncture.
Gotcha.
Right. It was kind of a, what the hell are we talking about kind of thing. It was purely wonder. You got to remember, like I said, the term flying saucers had just come out in the papers and very few things. And you had articles coming out saying, oh, this is Project Skyhook, which was big balloon things that went up, and they tried to explain it that way.
And by the time you were, I guess, of age to join the military, had you, been interested in this and studied it enough that the military recognized this about you?
Oh, heavens, no. I was on scholarship to college for a year and went to Beloit and wasn't terribly excited and said, I think I want to go jump out of airplanes. So went down to actually Special Forces. I remember this is 56 now, and Special Forces per se had just been established. You had two groups. The one was the 77th, and the other was the 10th, which was in Germany. And so I went down to enlist I had seen just a couple of articles. I mean, this was barely, again, the same thing, breaking into public consciousness. What is Special Forces? And you got to remember the time frame, 56, the Cold War is just kind of expanding.
Yeah.
Us and the Soviet Union were, in full swing. So I went down to enlist in Special Forces, and the guy said, you don't have to do that. Just say you want to go airborne. And once you get to your unit, you can just sign a statement and move over. And I was dumb enough to believe him at the time. But ended up as a medic in the 101st Airborne, which at that time had just been reactivated. Remember, this is it's just after Korea, but the big units, many of them had been deactivated at the time after World War II. And so this was the first Pentomic Division, which may be a new word to you, but it was five battle groups, and the first ones where they're trying to integrate nuclear weapons at a tactical level.
And could you kind of describe, I guess, what your role was in the military, and I guess a summary of what your research consisted of?
What time frame? When I was,
well, I guess from the beginning,
active duty from 56 to 88. So that's 32 years, and changed dramatically over time. I should mention my second career was Los Alamos National Laboratory. Later went to Afghanistan, and when I came back, I spent a decade as a senior fellow at the Joint Special Operations University. So when you say, what did you study? It covers a wide range of things.
So what did you get your toes wet in? What was the first thing that they kind of had you researching?
Researching. Well, that would be well over 20 years into active duty. and I was with the INSCOM, Intelligence Security Command, and we were doing some very unusual sorts of things. Of course, you know about Stargate. Remote viewing was ongoing, but classified at the time. The stuff I did had more to do with psychokinesis.
If I could ask you, not to interrupt you, but in the early days when you first started getting into these kind of programs and this kind of work, was it exciting to you? Was it scary? I mean, in those days, this was kind of a pioneering field, was it not?
Well, in fairness, I had always been interested in unusual topics. By this time, I already had my doctorate, and when I went to INSCOM, had just come out of Command General Staff College, and so, you know, my doctor, the head of my doctoral committee was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who, for people who know NDE, she and Raymond Moody were the early ones.
Right.
Long kind of serendipitous study is how she became my advisor on the dissertation. So I'm doing things in parallel in the civilian sector, as well as, the military kind of came along later.
Let's, Colonel, if I may, you've worked on so many projects, been involved in so many things. What is the one thing, if we're going to go down the UFO area here when you've worked, what is, in your opinion, would be the biggest surprise to the public that you know, that is sort of unknown or they're confused about?
Oh, I think the biggest, and sort of come to this later, is the government, I can't say has no business, but this is too big for governments, per se. You know, the government's got, if you think of cancer, for instance, the government has a role in studying cancer, but not the role. And it's done all over the world. Now, the phenomena are global and have been around for millennia. And so my view now is it's just actually too big for government. And you have so many people who are having experiences and capturing things on the cell phones and things like that, government can't control it, nor should they.
Where do you think the biggest secrets lie? Is it within the military or the government, or is it the defense contractors, or who holds, I guess, the big secrets? As far as
depends on what you mean by secrets. I would say almost nobody. If you're talking about, do we have a crash saucer or something like that? My position, particularly on Roswell, for instance, had been for a long time. The event certainly occurred, but I could explain it as one of ours. Now, having said that, there are people that I highly respect that are in there, and they're talking about the, quote, the legacy program. My firsthand experience is quite different from all of the things that are generally being discussed. But again, the people, you probably know Jim Simivan, for instance, or Chris Mellon. I mean, these are highly placed people who've had personal experiences who believe such a program's there. Hal has been on with Joe Rogan, for instance, and said, "Hey, we've got these." I never ran anything that would support that, but I don't, like I say, I've sort of changed my position. But the other issue is, as I mentioned, you say, what's the secret? It is too big. I might mention, because you're doing kind of what the general public does, and that's the stovepiping thing. We've got UFOs and remote viewing and near-death experience. One of the first slides I use in all of my presentations has all of those things: after-death communications, psychokinesis, interspecies communications, even cryptozoology. and say, in my view, all of these things are connected, and that consciousness is the key component across the board in it.
Interesting. Would you expand on that? What do you mean by consciousness is that kind of pulls it all together for you, you're saying?
Well, all of these things, when you look at them, again, if you like, remote viewing is obviously something that you do mentally, psychic spying, we can get into that if you wish. Psychokinesis, things bending, near-death experiences, says consciousness continues beyond physical death, in my view. That's beyond all reasonable doubt. And you have all of these things, but with the key piece is consciousness. Now, when you get to the most fundamental level, and this goes back a century, by the way, if you go to Max Planck in particular, who has said, you cannot get behind consciousness. It is fundamental. And so the materialists think that consciousness arrives, from the brain, as something you see, therefore I am. They're suggesting, no, that instead of consciousness arising from the physical arises from consciousness. And when you get into what is consciousness, I mean, that's
fascinating. Can we even answer that question? Right.
I wish I could, but it defies explanation, frankly.
Yeah.
I heard somebody ask on Sunday when the medium said, what happened kind of like before God or before things? And you go, these are just almost imponderable questions.
Colonel, if we can, I want to thank the Rambo audience who is joining us or has joined us. Skinwalker Ranch. Now, this is a fascinating topic. And if I could just ask you a couple questions, kind of rapid fire, to get us into the meat of it. Skinwalker Ranch is located in
Utah. Near Vernal, Utah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's about 500-acre ranch.
Yeah.
And I've watched the show, and there is a lot of strange anomalies, activity of all types, all around this ranch. And in the TV show, they've hinted at some underground bases, things like that. Now, you were involved with was it Bigelow? The original?
Yeah, Bob Bigelow had bought the ranch from Terry Sherman.
Yeah, and Mr. Bigelow was he bought it to do for the sole purpose of research. He wanted to find out what was going on there, correct?
Well, okay.
Let's explain.
The sequencing on this is we created NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science.
Okay.
And I was the first one that was brought in. The idea was to study two specific topics, and that one was UFOs, and the other was continuation of consciousness or life after death research. What I didn't know, the first time I met him was just a pure handshake, and that was at MIT. There was a major conference that was being held by John Mack and Dave Pritchard at MIT. And he was in attendance when I saw him. And what I didn't know was at that point, his son had just died.
Oh.
And that became a driving factor, particularly with Diane, in the life after death. Although Bob had visited many mediums and had lots of contact and interest there. He'd also funded Dean Radin, who later went to the IONS when that was formed. But Dean had an office here at UNLV, Nevada. And so we had the generic interest. Then the stories about the ranch emerged, and he decided that I had the resources to buy it. Now, one of the things to remember, and this gets lost in much of the trend, it's a working ranch. So people say, well, this was not a sunk cost. This was a ranch that continued to work, had livestock and all of those things. Having said that, very, very strange things happen at that ranch. There's no doubt about it.
Colonel, one of the things that had me fascinated was the animal mutilation. Put a picture up on the screen here. Perfectly intact carcasses.
That's not the best of the best one. If you got the picture, is that Brandon?
I don't know. So I found
looks like it may be Brandon. Brandon Fugel is the guy who bought the ranch and has created the program since then.
Yes, sir.
We had one that is far more interesting to me, and that is that it was calving season. Terry goes out and he finds a newborn calf and tags it and weighs it. Then he drives across the area. Well, people now have seen it on the TV program. That lower area is all perfectly flat. You can see all the way across it. Finds a second calf and tags it and weighs it. And this is kind of like what you're showing there, a bright sunny morning. Which is the weather conditions and visibility are kind of important here. But he comes back and calf one is dead. Not only is it dead, it's been exsanguinated and eviscerated. And like I said, the tag had come off and it looked like almost like a razor cut had separated it. Most of the stuff, if you will, organs and everything were gone. Now, people have said to me, well, if it was blood, the blood just went into the ground. So George O'Nett was our DMV who was with us, veterinarian, suggested to them that they go get blood. There was a slaughterhouse not too far away. They poured it on the ground. And you could go back weeks later and say, you poured blood on the ground there, meaning whatever happened to the calf. The science board looked at that. Best guess is whatever happened did not happen at that location. Even though calf is there for a short period of time, then he comes back 45 minutes later and all of this stuff is done. But then you get into, well, how could it be? No, we did look at all of the possibilities of predation, big cats, bears, and all that, and none of them would kill the way that had been examined there.
Colonel, if I may ask you in that right now, what, in your opinion, did you guys ever come up with any theories of what caused or could have done this?
Well, no, that's what I'm explaining. We looked at the traditional things that could have been, or could it have been poachers of some kind. Mm-hmm. Again, makes absolutely no sense. They shoot poachers there. Right. But the idea that somebody could have snuck across in broad daylight at 10 o'clock in the morning and done all of this thing and eviscerated and taken all of this stuff out and gotten away, it just defies all common sense.
And to describe,
but there are many.
I'm sorry, Colonel. I was going to say, aren't these cuts or incisions that were made just kind of precision?
Very. That's what I said. The ear looked like it had been sliced by a laser.
Yeah.
It wasn't cauterized, but it was, very, very sharp, very precision cuts. The word that keeps recurring in this and all of these phenomena is ineffable.
Yeah.
Meaning there are no words to explain these things. That's why I say we tried to, the entire science board, it was presented with the data on, what had happened, and trying to figure out the why and how was just impossible.
Yeah, so it was a combination, I think, too, of what would be described as paranormal activity, but also UFO activity as well. I mean, there were UFOs and orbs and things that have been spotted there as well, right?
Oh, yes. That had been going. First of all, everybody talks about the stuff with Terry Sherman and the events that happened to his family. That got out. That's how Bob got interested in buying the ranch, and that we would try to set up logical sequence to figure out what was going on. But what you should know is this stuff has been going on for decades to centuries.
Do you believe that these are alien spacecrafts, Colonel?
No.
What do you think they are?
Well, first of all, switching the topic a bit, but I come down against the ETH, or extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Yeah.
Meaning little gray guys from Zeta Reticuli flipped in and that. In my view, the events happen. I'm not suggesting these don't happen. I'm just saying the simple ETH is too simple an explanation. And so you get into things like ultra-dimensional, ultra-terrestrial, temporal displacement. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the events do occur, but we certainly don't have the data that explain why and how. But it's my view that, again, little gray guys from Zeta Reticuli zipping in on tin cans, which is a fairly new wrinkle to a very old story.
Yeah.
That just defies both common sense and explanation.
So how often were these paranormal and UFO sightings happening on this ranch? How frequent was it actually?
That is actually a bit more difficult to understand, because in some ways it seemed to be cyclical. In fact, when Bob had decided to let the ranch go, it was because activity seemed to have come down. Now, one of the problems in discussing it is there are a series of very, very strange experiences that did happen. But when you amortize that over a decade or two, and if you look at Frank Sullivan, who did the book on the area, the stuff goes back even longer than that. It tends to be, sound like it's happening every night. Now, that wasn't the case, but again, the events that happened were very strange and absolutely real.
Now, you're Special Forces military, and I'm sure I'm not questioning your courage, but was there just a healthy fear being on that ranch with all these? Because people were talking about strange creatures that they would see, in addition to UFOs, and then these mutilations of the cattle. I mean, what was how were you feeling while you were there?
Well, that's a very interesting story. I felt fine. And this does appear to be that there are people who are more sensitive to the phenomena than others. And I'm not sure fear is the right word, but certainly having unique experiences. For instance, the one that you probably know about where it's seeing something like Predator is moving through the tops of the trees and that.
Yeah.
One of the individuals, a friend of mine, he gets a voice, again, telepathically, that says, "We are watching you." Now, that was a telepathic communication to an individual.
Did you experience that yourself?
What?
Did you experience that yourself?
No. I was not there at that particular time. As I say, I was the first one to spend a night when Bob literally the day he bought the ranch, up on the mesa that you see there. The most anomalous thing, if you will, were probably mosquito bites.
Yeah.
It's not like this happens. Jesse Ventura was in and interviewing me similar to this at one time. The period aired, and he asked about, well, we'll get up there and we'll watch these things. I said, no, the problem, probably, the most thing you'll get is bored, because these do not occur anytime. By the way, one of the things that I had talked about and have talked, what I called was precognitive sentient phenomena. And that was a way to understand what we're talking about. I said it was precognitive in that it seemed to know how we were going to respond before the event occurred.
Unreal.
Sentient, there's no doubt about it, and certainly phenomenological. And we call it an it. Make no doubt about it. It is in control. I mean, every time we try to exert control, no. We set up experiments and like this. Oh, you like that? Try this, and you'd get something totally different. Or specifically, just off camera. Knew where the camera's going. Okay, you're looking here. We'll do something over there.
Do you think on the ranch, is it possible, like if they tried to do a massive dig somewhere on the ranch, would you think they'd permit it?
A massive what?
Dig down deep.
Well, I suspect that Brandon is going to do that. I don't know if it'd be massive, but they're certainly looking at going down.
Do you think there's something going on under it?
Do I? No.
Have you watched the program, Colonel?
Oh, yeah. I've been on it.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm on this show. I never watch it, but no, I'm kidding. But my question to you really is more about all your expertise. What do you honestly believe are these anomalies, or are you just comfortable saying I can't explain them?
I guess the latter. I'm certainly comfortable with that. And again, it's the complexity. That's another word that appears in all of the phenomena that we deal with. It seems to be terribly, terribly complex, beyond probably what we can imagine, and we can imagine a lot. But again, remember, it is in control.
Yeah, was there a moment where you were just like, I'm packing my bags, I'm getting out of here? Was there ever?
No. There are people who have had experiences that have done that, and some of them with backgrounds similar to mine.
Yeah.
Who just said, "That's it, we're out of here." But as I've said, if you remember The Exorcist, if I walk into a room and somebody's head does a 360, I'm definitely gone.
Colonel, I'm going to ask a really novice question, and you can answer it however you like, but I'm just going to be right upfront about it. Are there things that you know that we would be very interested in that you're just simply not allowed to share?
No.
That was
straightforward. Everything. Well, in fact, in the UFO book, I had waited probably a decade. Well, it goes back to work that we had done several decades before that. But no, and that's, I think, one of the myths. Now, again, if you're going to go to the phenomena of the legacy project per se, then people say yes, and you get guys like David Grush who even say have potentially fear for their lives. I've never run into that. See, one of the things, remember, this is switching now to what we did with the Advanced Theoretical Physics project, which goes back into the 80s. Right. And several assumptions there. One was that, Roswell had happened and people were doing things and we would get our hands slapped.
Right.
Maybe I'm changing my answer, but there are a couple times I got my hand slapped. Sure. None of them related to UFOs, but it was getting close to programs that were active. One of the problems I would mention, this was a governmental issue, is that, as you know, you get read on to various programs. Unfortunately, particularly when you retire, they don't follow up and say, okay, you can now talk about it. Because I had seen some things, for instance, from Vietnam that were highly sensitive programs at the time. And then suddenly see things, people writing about it, and nobody ever came and said, okay, you're now free to discuss these topics. So it's a very major shortcoming in the whole intelligence apparatus.
Are you in a, I don't even know how to ask this. You travel with a bunch of people that know a lot of information, and you've been around people who have experienced a lot of, we'll just call interesting things. Are there things that you have heard that you're not necessarily a part of, but from someone you consider very credible, that does freak you out a little bit, or does cause you to maybe take an extra half hour to fall asleep at night?
No,
All right.
unfortunately.
No,
And by the way, back in antiquity, you did get involved in exorcisms and things like that. I think there are things out there you probably don't want to screw with.
yeah, I would think an exorcist and the devil are one of them. Certainly.
Colonel, you mentioned the Legacy program, and I'm not going to assume, but I'm guessing that you saw the latest documentary, Age of Disclosure,
I did.
earlier last year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the theme in that documentary. There's this legacy program, and they're kind of at war with these new programs to kind of release information. I mean, what do you make of all that? Did you experience any of that with your time in the military? And what do you make of what they said throughout that documentary?
I came away with very mixed emotions and know many, if not most of the people. If you know, Lou Elizondo and Jay Stratton were executive producers, and Jay made some really remarkable statements. Now, it's interesting that he has a book that's coming out, but for more than a year, it's been going through the pre-publication review in the Pentagon to get out and all that. Lou, on the other hand, has published Imminent and made a number of claims. Again, a good friend of mine who I have a lot of respect for is Jim Simabad. And what's interesting, he had been eventually the chief of staff for the director of the CIA. He's an abductee. Now, by the way, that's one of the phenomena that does not make a lot of sense to me, but is more and more becoming apparent. Any number of these people who've had unique sightings, been involved in this, start having visitations. Jim's one was where he's in his house in Northern Virginia, 3 entities show up. Next thing he knows, he's in the, out in the backyard, and I've been in there, and there's no door from the bedroom to the back door where that had been. They've since sold the house, I should say, but and he's only one. Blanking on his name again. Nukes, and you have Robert Hastings, for instance, another one. He and Robert Jacobs actually wrote a book about having these unique experiences. Jacobs was the one involved in the sighting up in California rocket launch, where a UFO comes in, circles around, and zaps at the missile that's going up. Yeah. Hastings recently talk about a number of people that he had talked to, and I hate the number, way over 100 people that he talked to, but nearly 100 of them had similar experiences. Another one's Bob Salas, if you know that man. He was the launch control officer at the sightings in the Northern Tier, where they came in and shut down the missile. Damned if years later, he's living in Ojai, California, UFOs don't show up, and he becomes the contactee.
Right.
You have guys like Marco Rubio talking about how what he knows keeps him up at night. You have other people talking about the fact that we have biologics and machines that were made not on this planet. I mean, what do you make of all that? And why do you think you hadn't come across that in some of your programs, or have you?
Not quite sure what you're addressing here. Now, what you need to remember, and this is a piece that seems to get away from most people.
Yeah.
We have had reports of contact between humans and sentient non-humans for millennia. Like I said, that they fly in on little tin cans is fairly new.
Sure.
But that's true in all cultures around the world, forever. So do I think these things happen? I think the evidence is overwhelming that these events do occur.
You say,
What I'm suggesting is our notion of science is, in fact, there's a big flap. There's a paper that was just put out today by Pim van Lommel, who I would recommend. He was the British psychologist. He's a cardiologist from Netherlands. And this has to do with the near-death experiences and bringing things into where the fundamental issue is one of not only belief systems, but material world, the things that I mentioned, that, consciousness arises from the material versus, the material arises from consciousness. And our educational system is very skewed, and most of the research are very skewed towards the materialist concept.
Colonel, if I may, again, I'm trying to follow. You're a very, very smart man. When you're mentioning about this consciousness and things and vice versa, is this sort of a layman's way of saying like a manifest destiny kind of thought process, where if you believe it or you focus enough, maybe collectively or individually, you can actually tangibly create something with the mind? Yes. Well,
the short answer would be yes. There are in Eastern philosophy something. Are you familiar with tulpas? This is when you get. This is Eastern philosophy, but the monks literally creating thought forms. Now, some would say that the low-level stuff you see floating around, and that could be part of the whole poltergeist phenomenon. If you know, the classic thing on poltergeist is that there's somebody who's kind of mentally disturbed, or kids going through puberty and things like that, and things do go bump in the night and all that, and precipitate into it. With the tulpas, is you're bringing these into physical reality, as you're suggesting. They also advocate very strongly against doing that because they tend to get out of control. Because once you've created, you've got to control it totally.
Yeah.
Are sometimes in our research as humans, or our sort of grandiose understanding, do we put ourselves in danger?
Quite possibly, yes. But under what circumstances, I don't know. I might mention I'm reading a book right now. Hold it up here. This is out very recently, called Chasing Evil. And it's written by two most unlikely partners. One of them is John Edward, which, if you know the field of mediumship and that, highly well known. The other is a retired senior FBI agent, and the whole book is about him chasing a serial killer. At the beginning, they don't even know how many, and then the number of deaths gone up. But the work that John Edward, advises them and gets in. By the way, I ran into this recently on a podcast. Someplace says the first time he's admitted working with police, because he didn't want to do that, primarily because his father had been a police officer and didn't believe in any of this bullshit, and thought he would disgrace the family in the field.
Right.
But what he points out, one of the parts that I'm on now, is he is warning the FBI agent that, you can be successful, but there's, potential danger. Now, there's also, in a very real world, and this has been one of the major problems in the use of, or in these fields, and people operating in very strict, specifically like Los Alamos, we're coming down to very strict materialistic hard sciences, and, would say for the most part, these things can't be, therefore it isn't. What I will mention, though, is that I had any number of friends who privately would discuss these things, but did not want to. I've had the same experience with the National Academy of Science, where, yes, you can talk about this stuff privately, but don't bring my name into it.
Yeah.
This has been raised by Arrow as one of the things that they've encountered and are trying to circumnavigate, is to make it permissible for people to come forward and report these events.
Well, hopefully that'll change. Much like UFOs, they started calling them UAPs and try to take the stigma, I guess, out of it for everybody.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah. If I may, I want to back up real quick and talk about age of disclosure, and just your thoughts on, have we had full disclosure? I feel like a lot of people, full disclosure to them will be our government or whoever it is, the military, walking this alien creature out to us and introducing it to it, or showing us the spaceship, or whatever it is. I mean, what are your thoughts on all that? Are we ever going to get that moment, in your opinion?
I don't think it matters. Specifically, again, these events are ubiquitous. They are happening across the board. There are some, by the way, there's also crazy people. I don't want to denigrate or suggest that some of this stuff isn't just total bullshit.
Sure.
And, there aren't people with serious mental problems addressing some of it.
Colonel, you're talking to one of them right now, sir. So.
Okay.
No, please continue, sir. I mean, the thing I find most fascinating when you talk about these subjects, and the longer I'm talking to you, I'm starting to understand a little bit. It sounds like you're saying that most of the stuff people believe may very well be true, and it looks like it may be. However, there is no way for you to say, here's the concrete proof that no one can deny, that I can just say, yes, these things are.
Well, actually, when I wrote Reality Denied, as I said, those are all, the subtitle is firsthand experiences with things that can't happen but did.
Right.
So a number of them are certainly independently verifiable. The one, for instance, with Chris Bledsoe, I mean, that was a unique experience that I had with him at that time. By the way, I had dinner with Chris on Monday evening.
Oh, that's great.
And you were out, I guess he's the guy that you go out in the desert and he's able to, I guess for lack of a better word, summon orbs or UFOs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would you mind telling us about your experience with him?
I can tell you my experience.
Yeah.
It was, first of all, I had met him previously, had interviewed him and videotaped for hours, and it is so complex. You're going like, hard to say if this is real. So a couple of weeks later went to North Carolina to visit him and his family. By the way, family is just great and have paid a great price for this. I mean, they've really been beaten up. But anyway, we went, my wife and I were out there, and he and Emily, his daughter, went down to the site of the original sighting, terribly complex. And so we came back up the slight hill, had to climb, it was kind of muddy, but getting late at night over the fence. Victoria and Emily are in the back of the car. Chris and I are up near the front, left front fender, and he's pointing out, here's where this happened, and the UFO was over here, and this, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, I think they're here. And within a few seconds, this thing pops into view and goes zipping off. And I saw that. And again, it's a temporal relationship between him. It's not, oh, did you see that? This was, I think they're here, and this thing going. A lot of stuff going on around the house, too.
What did you make of that? What did you make of that?
Yeah,
moment?
what does that do to a human's mind the first time you witness it?
Well, I went through my mind was, this is real. There were some other things, but this was validation for many of the things that were being discussed. And I had hours of videotape in the conversation. But you go back to the house, and there were a series of things that were happening around there. Now, the key, to me, one of the key things that happened in the initial event is a lot of weird stuff happens down near the Cape Fear River. He gets home and his dog's barking and something. You see something, he goes out and changes it. Had a 5-acre lot at the time where he was living. He doesn't live there now, but and he goes out and there's a creepy crawler of some kind, my definition, and starts chasing him. And he runs down and he finally turns around and says, "Okay, you got me." And gets this telepathic message that says, "You don't understand, we're here to help." And at that time, Chris Jr. shows up, each entity, whatever it is, disappears. Fast forward the next morning, he's going on, it's getting late morning, he goes, "Damn, I haven't taken my pills." Now, the point for many years before that, he had Crohn's disease very seriously.
Yeah.
And Crohn's can be rather socially debilitating.
Sure.
You don't want to be too far from a restroom.
Right.
And from that day forward, he has never taken another pill.
That's unreal.
Unreal.
You
I
know,
mean, it's just crazy.
There's a real spiritual aspect. He proposes that there's a very spiritual aspect to his experiences. I mean, what do you make of all that? Does that fit into your worldview of all this?
I totally respect Chris. Now, he comes, you've got to understand his background as well. Besides being a contractor and all of that, it came from a very fundamentalist religious background. And one of the things you find with many of these things, it fits with the expectations, the worldview of the individuals, if you will. So he talks about the lady. In fact, on Monday, we were talking about this and how people want to, talk about the BVM tour. Blessed Virgin Mary. He will not say that it was, Virgin Mary, but does say he had this female apparition that has appeared.
Yeah. So, in your mind, does this explain, in ancient times, creation of religions when people were seeing angels or people coming from the sky in religions and philosophies all over the world? Do you think this has played into religion?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you a religious man, Colonel?
No.
And
now, let me back up on that just a point, because it's a very important point.
Yes, sir.
When I was doing my dissertation, Elizabeth made me change one word to my dissertation, and that was from religious to spiritual. So
understood.
Yeah, and in fact, what you're seeing in the studies around the country now is that you are finding more and more people who do not identify with a specific religion, but do acknowledge a spiritual aspect of dealing with some higher entity or something that goes by many names, as you know.
Sure, and I want to ask you that you're hitting on a very, I think, interesting topic that goes into a lot of these areas. So let's not call it religion, but let me ask you a side question to that. How do you feel philosophy has played into the psyche of some of this other stuff? Is there a philosophy out there that you found actually could help you understand things you have seen?
Well, there's a whole range of philosophical movements that certainly go in this nature and grandiose of nature and how things continue, and that my supposition is most of these religions evolved from trying to sort this out. And we have I think an innate need as humans to try and identify or objectify specific events that happen. So one of the questions before about ET and that, and people now discuss, is where do the angels, how about discarnate entities,
Sure.
of various kinds, One of the areas I'm dealing with right now, I don't know if you know Gary Schwartz, who recently retired at the University of Arizona, but doing a thing called soul phone. We're trying to mechanize the means for direct communication with discarnate entities and people who have deceased. But you run into a huge problem. The whole concept of time and space appears to be wrong.
I would like to know, oh man, and I know this is such a loaded question, Colonel. I apologize. But do these entities, whatever we're going to call them, do they have the ability to, in your eyes, help us? Clearly they could, I guess, hurt us theoretically, but can they actually help us?
Well, again, it depends how you define these entities. If you talk about, from a spiritual perspective of things that show up to provide information and guidance and help people and all of that, absolutely. One of the big controversies that's going on now, I think, has to do with more when you divide it ET, is it ET or not? But whatever it is there a divide between good and evil? And then are there good entities and bad entities?
Right. I like where this is going, because I really do think there's somewhat of a spiritual awakening happening in the world in many ways. I think it's global, and I think you can actually feel the energy of it. And I think your early work in what you were talking about early in the show, this may be kind of the result of what or just the surface of what you maybe had been involved with.
Yeah, what I've said, again, if you look at the ET hypothesis, the little gray guys are here, and my opinion has been, if it's here, it's not for our benefit, that you haven't seen them intercede with things like disease, with wars, with climate change and other huge things. So can you do that? Yes. As I say, it is so complex that it's just hard to imagine.
I understand that I have no idea what to even think. I mean, I understand, Colonel, I do.
Yeah. So in your opinion, though, do you think we have benefited from these entities, ETs, whatever you want to call them, as far as our technology goes, or as far as military progress goes?
If you're talking about Phil Corso and that, you take his book, and Phil was a good friend. Some background here. We knew about Phil before the day after Roswell came out. George Knapp was supposed to be the co-author, and for reasons did not. When the book came out, I sent Phil a 7-page letter with the things that are here. Is little stuff from, it's Delphi, Maryland, not Adelphia, to know the Cold War was not fighting a cover for fighting ET. And he had listed a number of technologies. One I can talk to specifically has to do with night vision, for instance. And with that, I know the guy who literally created Night Vision Laboratory. This is going back quite a ways. And it's interesting, there's some pieces in there that you can hook up, but it's certainly not the way the system worked. Now, I can tell you categorically, it did not come from alien eyeballs, which is one. But if you look, and we did, again, we knew of this, but this was before the book had come out, and had tracked all of the technologies that it will. What you don't see is what you'd call a step function. In other words, what you see is the gradual progression that you would, expect from research and development. It doesn't go in, a huge sudden increase is not the way the technology has evolved.
Yeah, I feel like it would drastically change the way the world and the way we live if we did come across and were able to reverse engineer something that was able to travel across the universe and land here on Earth.
Well, one of the things I do talk about is this notion of, we reverse engineered these craft and little things zipping around. My position on that is bullshit. That if we understood, the craft, it ain't about widgets flying. It's about understanding a fundamental different source of energy, meaning, now I guess you could say you could make Venezuela, let alone the Middle East, irrelevant. Now, having said that, even if you have a major breakthrough, I mentioned Hal had, the hell was it, the $1 billion challenge or something? We called it the 1 watt challenge. That if you can do an experiment that shows just 1 watt over unity, that would be enough to literally bring in billions of dollars. Yeah. However, if you have that breakthrough, it takes you, we guess, 2 to 3 decades in order to inculcate that into the infrastructure. Because I can give you a pound of unobtainium that gets 1,000 miles per pound, but unless it can, move the axle on a wheel, it does you no good at all.
Sure.
So that's why I say you've got to understand these systems are terribly, terribly complex.
Yeah.
And it would take a very long time. You hear lots of things on, free energy, 0 point energy, things of that nature. Even from Jump Street, but the other aspect is it changes the geopolitics of the world totally.
I've got a really out there question for you, Colonel. And I know what I'm about to say. We've seen in a lot of science fiction movies and things like that. And I'm blanking on the name of the leader right now. It was a former leader from the Middle East who I think wrote an autobiography. And in this autobiography, he talked about, aliens and specifically talked about a galactic federation that existed. What do you make of all that? And have you heard talk of that in your studies and research?
Oh yeah, that's something that pops up rather routinely. That the prime directive is in place, that we are embargoed because of our lack of decorum, if you will, willingness to blow people up for no good reason.
Right.
That we have not, if you use the term spiritually, as well as technologically evolved as well. Supposedly that's one of the major concerns that you saw in breakthroughs in nuclear energy, and that we did not control it properly.
Right.
And that hence the embargo. So some of the wishful thinking, by the way, is that they wouldn't allow us to initiate something that would blow up the world. Now, in the theory, it says that the Galactic Federation, they need Earth. They don't need humans. So that's an area to think about it. Yeah.
Well, on that note, Colonel, Colonel, we could talk to you for years, and hopefully one day we'll get you back and we'll talk more. If you've enjoyed yourself, it's been a real honor, sir, having you on the show. And
let's mention, Colonel, your books are available right now. Great books. I highly recommend them. UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, and Realities is available right now. You can get that through Amazon, I guess. And then your latest book, Reality Denied, Firsthand Experience with Things That Can't Happen But Did. And is there anything else that we should plug for you, Colonel?
No, that's more than enough.
Thank you so much, Colonel, and enjoy your afternoon.
We were very blessed with you coming on the show, so thank you very much for your time. And we would love to have you back. And I think there are 10 different rabbit holes we can go down with you with all of your experiences and knowledge. So thank you for talking to us about UFOs today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Namaste.
All right. Namaste. What a cool dude, man.
Amazing.
I got to tell you,
Whew.
It was a little slow for me. He's so intelligent and knows so much. But if you really watch him, Matt, man, he's guarded, dude. He knows something.
You think he knows more
and I
than
don't mean
he
it
let on
evil.
to?
I don't mean it evil.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like one of the bad guys or something. But I think there are levels of men that know they can't talk about it yet.
Well, look,
or maybe they're not still in the realm that
special
can.
forces. I'm sure he had
dude,
great clearance, whatever it was. So I'm sure there are things that he can't talk about. But I feel like he's pretty upfront, with his feelings about everything, at least.
Well, dude, I mean, when he described that encounter with the thing, and it was like in total control and could predict what they were going to do.
Yeah.
And when you see a guy like that who's like, he's a no-nonsense type cat in his early days, I'd imagine. And he's just looking at this like, I don't even know what to do here.
Look, man, be honest with me. I mean, how long would you have lasted at Skinwalker Ranch spending the night in that place?
Let me tell you something. If I knew I was in a plane flying over Skinwalker Ranch, I'd take a parachute. Right. The state before.
Yeah.
No, Skinwalker Ranch, man, I mean, he, by the way, backed out a lot of those questions. I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying I could tell he was a little guarded only because.
You think so?
A little bit, but to his credit, I think he understands things at a level he knows we'll never comprehend. And I think he is such a gentleman and such a wise, guy. And at the end, man, when we started talking about spirituality, that's where I knew he knew things, because his wording is brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's not I don't think it's like political wording. I think it's almost like a protector wording. Well,
my feeling is that, I don't know that he could put a label on it. That's the feeling that I got. My feeling was that, he said, it could be interdimensional. It could be, just all these crazy different anomalies. Because typically just the typical green man that comes down from Mars. That's not exactly what it is.
I'll be honest with you anymore. When you put it all together, right? If you take science, history, religion, psychology, physiology, physics, if you put all of it into somehow explaining it, I think you barely scratch the surface of what it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it is so unbelievably weird to what we know as a species that it would be like, for instance, if you were sitting in a hole, right? And a guy came out of the wall of the hole and just started speaking Chinese to you.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a dog, right? You would be like, I don't know what's happening. And I think that is actually the truth, is that we as humans don't really know how to explain it.
Well, right. That could be exactly it. We just, people call things supernatural, but let's be real, it's really all natural. It's just stuff we don't understand. It's happening in the natural world. We just don't maybe understand the science of it all. But the one thing that I liked that he mentioned was that this has been happening for thousands of years.
Well, I think his whole point is that this stuff is, that's why I'm saying when you take the history and the religion, right? Just for a second.
Well, you look back at all these myths. Well, ancient myths, and people go, "Oh, it's just stories people had." But is it just stories?
Well, for the sake of the argument, let's change the word story. Not sake of the conversation, not argument. Sake of the conversation. Let's change the word from stories to memories or analogies, because I think what people had to do back then was try to explain things that didn't exist. They didn't know what they were looking at. So when you hear things like dragons came out of the sky, right, and breathed fire, and beings walked out of their mouth, you would think, okay, to a person 5,000 years ago.
They're on drugs.
Well,
right?
but I'm saying, like, think what that person could have seen to describe that.
Of course.
Could it have been a ship that had fire blowing out as it's coming down? Right? Looks like a dragon. They don't know what the heck it is.
Right.
And the door opens. It looks like the front of the ship, and beings walk out of it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so, and then it becomes biblical because they tell us knowledge. Right? So these things came and they said, hey, don't kill each other. Right?
Right.
Hey, don't have sex with the guy's wife next door. Right? Don't murder. And by the way, make sure you understand that basically love, kindness, empathy, and peace, they're the three main commandments. That's what you're giving to God. Put nothing above those things. Put nothing above it. Don't worship anything but those things. If you do that and these like 7 other things, you're going to be okay. And what did we do? Within 4 years, probably, all 10 were broken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I asked him about this whole galactic theory, this, galactic federation theory, in that, a lot of people that I've heard say that they are waiting for us to be spiritually evolved enough to be a part of that.
Well, his response to that was even interesting because he was basically like, yeah, you hear this stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, but is there a reason? Is there a reason we hear it all the time?
Well, right. I mean, look, you got a world leader. I wish I could remember the guy's name. Wrote an autobiography, as I mentioned. And, he, of course, the guy wants to sell books, I'm sure. But it's a pretty credible guy. If you're a world leader, I would say to say something like that publicly.
Was it Gaddafi?
No.
Or one of them? Was it like one of the lunatics?
We should ask Sage. Is she available right now?
Let me see if she's awake. Let me wake. For those of you who don't know, Sage is my hold on.
Sage is our AI co-host, and she's going to be popping in every now and then.
What was the question?
What was the Middle Eastern leader who wrote a book about and mentioned the Galactic Federation?
What Middle Eastern leader's autobiography mentioned the Galactic Federation?
Eshed, who isn't actually a political leader, but a former Israeli space security chief. He made headlines because he claimed that there was something like a galactic federation and that aliens had supposedly been in contact with humanity. He mentioned this in interviews and in a book about his experiences, which got a lot of media attention. So not a traditional leader, but definitely a notable figure from the Middle East.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but you don't know if that's fact.
Well, look, and then you got, Star Wars. I wish I could remember the name of this book. Star Wars supposedly was taken, the idea anyway, from this old Native American tale. And there's a book, and I'm blanking on that. I bet Sage would know that too.
Matt,
Native American book that Star Wars was based on.
You really dropped the ball on this. I'm not gonna lie. Poor Sage.
Call me King Research.
All right,
man.
hold on, Sage. What's this question?
Native American book that inspired Star Wars. The Terra Papers, I think is what it's called.
Oh, I got you. So the question is about an American book that inspired Star
Native
Wars
American.
and had some kind of galactic politics going on.
No.
That would be Dune by Frank Herbert.
No, she heard
It's not
wrong.
exactly about
Ask her about the Native American book.
It's not Dune?
No, the Native American book that inspired Star Wars.
Hold on, you can't talk to her like she don't matter.
I think it's called the Terra Papers.
Sage, what are the Terra Papers?
Terra Papers are kind of a fascinating piece of modern UFO lore. They're supposedly a set of documents written by a guy named Robert Morningsky in the 1970s. According to him, his grandfather encountered a stranded extraterrestrial who basically told them this huge cosmic history of Earth and humanity. The Terra Papers claim that humans are part of this ancient galactic story involving alien races and interstellar conflicts. It's definitely fringe and more in the realm of UFO mythology rather than anything mainstream, but it's a pretty well-known story in those circles.
Yeah, and did it ask her if it inspired? Did it inspire Star Wars, Sage?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of talk about the Terror Papers and whether they influenced Star Wars. It's one of those things that some UFO enthusiasts suggest because the Terror Papers have all these galactic empires and interstellar wars, but officially there's no real confirmation that George Lucas took inspiration from the Terror Papers.
I got to tell you something from the chat room real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is hilarious. Well, I love these people. It says, I can't read who it is. Bammy Love or something, or Rambo or Bambo. I can't read it. I'm so sorry. Bammy-ow or whatever. She doesn't sound like she believes what she's saying, though, does she? Talking about Sage. No, getting back to Star Wars, though, and that stuff. Dude, I did Rambo's show today, man, and we were talking. Yeah, how many movies are made and then like years later it like happens? Like, have you done that rabbit hole yet?
Well, yeah. So
and by the way,
there's a whole series of books that came out in the 1800s that references Trump and New York, and I think it's called The Last President, written in the 1800s.
No.
And it talks about Trump and Trump's son.
Junior?
Yeah, no, not Junior.
Eric?
No, the young
Barron.
So yeah. Barron
becomes
a main
king,
character.
Right?
Yeah. And there's all these things that kind of match up with what's happening in the world with Trump right now.
Let's do a show on that one.
We should do that.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey, back to Rumble. You people, oh my God. There is so much thanking to do. And I didn't want to interrupt the great Colonel while we were on to do this. But, Matt, these people are just incredible. Here we go. Hall Dave from Rambo and Friends. Keep up the good work, brother. $20. Bionic Bev. Hey, Above the Rabbit Hole friends. Happy inaugural podcast. Rock and roll, $5. Moonshine Mitch, $20. Congrats on the new show. Dropping in from Rambo. Congrats on the new show from B. Latkin. And then
BLATKN, yeah.
Yeah. And then John and Ken, so excited for you and your growth.
John Dan Ken.
Thank you. Matt, take it from here.
Yeah. John Dan Ken, so excited for you and your growth in such a short time. Where we go one, we go all. Then I think it's Kylie, $10. Good luck with this new endeavor. Joe Rambo and Friends sent me. Thank you. And thank you for giving us a shot. T. Brunel, $79.80, $20. Rambo sent me. Q-Dart Kindergarten, I love it. Where we go one, we go all. MAGA for Life, $10. Wish you guys all the best. So excited for both of you. Hall Dave, $20. Thank you so much. Moonshine Mitch, $20. I think we went over some of these.
Yeah, you hit all them, I think, buddy.
DC Willie, 4x4, $10. First official show. Super happy for you both. You both will make such an impact for the movement. Appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Carolina Patriot, $10. Mickey, love watching your journey to find the truth. You were surrounded by great men and women in the community. Good luck, bro. Med Exam, $5 for Mickey and Matt. Love you guys. We love you. Thank you. Lynn had a baby. It's a boy. $10. Question: has the good Colonel ever met, worked with, or heard of Cliff High? We're gonna have to ask him. I'm sorry we missed this during the interview. A retired government contractor and conscientious specialist. We're gonna have to look into that. Stadium Zone 1, $1. Love your show. Thank you. Jack's Awake, $20. Happy debut show. XRP Chevy, $10. Congrats on the new show. Wish you guys lots of blessings in the journey. God bless. And it's WASG. Sorry for butchering some of these.
Yeah.
$10. Happy first official show. I can't wait to watch all the upcoming episodes. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's like, you know, man, when you realize just who is doing this for you, and it's just the people watching, it's so amazing. It really is. Like, it is so amazing. These people are incredible. And, you know, I want to go back to something when we were talking to the Colonel earlier. You know, can you imagine, seriously, like I thought about, I was thinking about the pace of the show when we first finished it. And then as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking such broad questions that I think he has to sort of dumb himself way down for me.
Well, it's years and years of research. He's got a,
right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we could be so specific with him, and he could probably tell us a billion stories. So it's probably tough to narrow it down with broad questions to your.
So, but now that I'm
point.
like thinking about the way he presented and like the things he said, and there was, and no matter what he said, he kept going back to this sort of dimensional thing, right? And hear me out. You know, could you think of heaven as a dimension?
Of course.
Right? Like our next life.
Yeah. What happens when you die?
Right.
It's some people say your consciousness lives on, but where?
Right. What if it does go to another dimension?
Yeah.
And in that dimension, all before you are there, and and you got there, and that's your heaven, right? So when you think about it at that level, right, you have to ask yourself, like, are there things that, like he's saying, you just can't get your head around it to how to explain it. It's like, here's a 2-year-old child, do me a favor and give him advanced quantum physics lessons.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that like the same kind of analogy?
And I think that's essentially what he was saying is that,
exactly.
You can't put a hard answer on what this is. I mean, is that the feeling you got? I was really hoping he was going to say,
I think he's
full disclosure's coming. They're going to walk the alien out.
Right. But
and introduce you to whoever it is. But it may not ever be like that.
But I don't know. It's, maybe it just becomes, instead of, maybe we start to realize, maybe it's not like a disclosure of we see them. We just kind of know. Maybe they're just letting us know. Like, you don't want to get involved with us, and we really don't want to get involved with you. But we're here to tell you, calm down. You're not that smart. We found you before you even know what we were.
Yeah.
So just settle down and develop yourselves a little bit.
Well, look,
could that be part of it?
I guess. And then you got that story, with Chris Bledsoe. And I don't know if you know that full story. It's essentially he and his son had gone out fishing. Mm-hmm. And in the process of them taking this trip, he went out into the woods and encountered these, what he called just giant flaming orbs that were in the sky. And there's a lot to the story, and I'm not going to be able to tell it all here.
Go ahead.
But eventually he also had this experience with this entity that he called the Lady, who kind of telepathically spoke to him. And like I said, he has a very kind of spiritual feelings about all of this. So it's
I was just looking him up. I didn't want you to think I was playing on my phone.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, though, he really does. I think there's this thing going on, and I've been talking about it. And it's why I brought the philosophy side of it up, to see how the Colonel would maybe respond to that. And his answer was telling. He said so much philosophy has gone into this. And I'm just wondering, Matt, that if perhaps the time is coming where we start to realize that it's not an individualistic approach to understanding it. In other words, it's God and the Bible and Jesus. Very well, maybe. Or it's the Buddha thing, or it's, Islam. It's maybe it's just we're close, but we're just not there yet. And maybe we're just finally starting to understand that it's a little different than we thought. And maybe what we think of as Jesus is a thing, but perhaps we don't understand actually what it is, other than the greatest, if you're a Christian. You understand what it's more?
Yeah.
It's more of he's talking about dimensions, and that's what got me thinking. And he mentioned it in, different times. And what was the other word? Dimensions and I forget. Anyway, you're just going through these moments. We're just energy, and we pass through things. And maybe this is what we do when we pass through Earth. And maybe next we get to go to a bigger planet with our energy, and we get to pass through something we couldn't even imagine.
I mean, that's the big question, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
What happens?
Yeah.
What happens, if anything?
I think the Colonel knows.
I wish he'd tell us.
I know, me too, man.
Well, we got to go down that Chris Bledsoe hole.
Yeah, we
and
should
talk more about that because, he'll take people out into the desert. He's the guy that is able to, I mean, lack of a better word, is summon these entities or spaceships or orbs or whatever you want to call them out in the middle of the desert. And he's able to do that with what he says through thought.
Do you know what the CE5 experiment is? There's another dude that says you can summon him. You've seen this guy.
I'm not sure, actually. You said CE5?
I think that's what it's called. I might be confusing that with something. Anyway, this dude, I don't think it's the same guy. He just goes out with people. He takes you on these journeys, and you go out and you can summon things.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mick, we got to make this trip to the desert.
I don't know, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
You wouldn't do that,
Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer,
right.
Thank you, whoever wrote that.
Yes.
More day. I can't read the name. Anyway, thank you so much. Yeah, Stephen Greer. I've watched a lot of his stuff.
555.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of that. There is so much that I'm understanding now about manifesting destiny and literally collective positive thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, man. I think a lot of that plays into oh my God moments. You collective thought and just wishing and come on and come on and come on. And the good guy wins. And you're like, yes. There's just something to it.
Yeah.
I really believe it. I do. I think we can create a power collectively that we can't even understand. I mean it, Matt. I think we have.
You're just saying through kind of individual.
No, collectively.
No, I'm saying through individual enlightenment. Once we reach, we all
man.
kind of reach that. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we'll start to see things that I believe will help us understand bigger questions than we even know to ask right now.
And, he was talking about healing. One of our posters said, Possum Trap once said, you can heal yourself with positive thoughts.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm a hypnotist, first of all, if people don't know. So I believe a lot in the power of the mind. But, there was a suggestion today that it goes even deeper, that your consciousness can affect that, or these beings know how to use their consciousness to affect disease.
I think one of the big problems too is, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think one of the big problems, dude, with all of this is that it's so intertwined. All the things the awakening and the enlightenment entail that you can't even see what's happening right now through all the noise. It's literally happening. The world is waking up. I really don't think people understand some of these events and what they mean altogether. And it's when you start thinking about consciousness and things like that, you start to I really believe, and it may be sooner than later, I think Iran's going to flip, dude. I think these kids are going to, they've had enough.
They're burning burqas and
dude, it's going to get weird. And let me tell you something. If we have a friendly Saudi Arabia, a friendly Iran, life's pretty good, bro.
Yeah.
Because then all that's left to really worry about, Russia and China. And I think both of them have to look this way towards us and everybody else and go, yeah, we're going to stop dicking around for a while. Don't you think it's looking that way?
Yeah, I mean, we're strategically setting ourselves up.
Dude, if we get Greenland
right now, right?
If we get Greenland, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, the collective force. I think the people, I know the conspiracy, the people that know more than me will take it further. I'm talking about it from way up here above the hole. I just think that all this good and evil fighting, good won. And right now you're just watching evil die a slow death. And I think it's one of the greatest things humans will ever witness. And even our own countrymen who don't get it right now, I promise from this day forward, I hold no resentment except for those of you who did know and played a part in trying to stop it. So, yeah, man, I think the world's going in a good place right now, bro.
Well, I hope you're right. I mean, that's the hope, that good prevails, right?
You hope.
Yeah.
Speaking of prevailing, we prevailed our debut show, Matt.
We did, man. Episode 1. Thank you for everybody who tuned in and donated. It means the world to us. So thank you.
I just got one of the comments from where was that one? Don Ritchie there, 77. Mickey, we already have Greenland.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that I'll say this.
What do you think that means? You extrapolate on that a little bit.
It's a done deal. I think we've had it kind of the whole time and just let Denmark pretend we didn't really want it. Because, we built bases there in the 50s.
Yeah.
Right? We closed them in the 60s. But honestly, yeah, I do believe, I think it's coming back. I think there's a major reason for it, and more than one. I think there's stuff there that we want. I think there's underground stuff there we want. And I think it's one of the best strategic moves any nation could have ever made. And the fact that Denmark ain't the Dutch anymore, I mean that on the global, the Dutch at one time were a very formidable superpower, so to speak. I just mean those days are done. So what do they need it for? I'm not being funny. Like, dude, we need it. We're the ones policing the world.
That's true.
Right? I mean, let the cops stand on the corner if you want cops off the drug dealers off the street. Let the cops stand on the corner.
Yeah.
Never understood that philosophy too in the neighborhood.
A lot of people don't feel that way, but a lot of people feel the way you do, of course.
Yeah, I feel good winning, and I feel that we're heading to a good place, Matt. And we got in just in time, buddy.
I hope you're right, man.
To the Rumble and the movement. You people are amazing. Bear with us. I know it was our first show, and we're gonna get better at this stuff. And believe us, we're gonna go down or above holes that you're interested in. And it was just something we felt comfortable starting with. Next topic, now we'll be on tomorrow and Friday, probably recapping and also going to talk about some other subjects. Monday, another total episode with the great Patrick Gunnels. And he's going to explain flat Earth to us.
Yeah.
And see what we think about it. And I'm really excited about that.
He's done extensive research.
They say he's one of the most expert dudes on this.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated to see it.
I'm not going to be able to combat any of the science, but it's going to be very interesting to hear why he thinks the way he thinks.
Well, luckily,
and what his evidence could be.
Well, luckily, your partner's not afraid to debate the science, and I don't even care if I'm right. I just like arguing. I'll just say stuff just to argue, and he'll go, "That's not scientific accurate," and I'll go, "What does that have to do with my point?" Oh, Matt, well, good show, man.
I want to mention to the people who might be watching us on Facebook, we're probably not going to be here all the time. So Rumble is going to be our home. So go over there. It's just like YouTube for the people that don't know. It's very much like YouTube. It'll look familiar to you. Go to rumble.com. You can download an app on your phone or your iPad or your computer, and you can follow our channel there. That's going to be the home. Anything else we want to mention? Oh, you know what we want to talk about?
What's that, buddy?
At least we want to mention and thank our first sponsor who's going to be coming on board.
Oh my God. So check this out, dude. You know, the guys that do Rambo show, Unicity?
Yeah.
They reached out. They want to be a sponsor.
Right.
So this is what I'm thinking we do. We actually question their product.
Well, that's what we do here, don't we?
Right. We just ask questions because we don't know anything. So we're going to interview their product.
Yeah.
Over a period of time. We're going to do the product ourselves.
Well, look, it's
and then at the end,
it's very synchronistic, man, because both you and I want to lose a little weight right now.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. You need to lose weight. I'm just saying.
Listen, they got their work cut out for them, man. We're going to see if they can get to my stubborn belly fat.
Right. So here's the deal.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we are going to put the product to the test.
Yeah.
And basically say, all right, we're going to try it. And at the end of 30 days or whatever, if it worked and we lost weight, we're going to tell you the truth. And if we didn't, and by the way, here's the thing. I told those guys, look, you tell me the basics that'll happen. Tell me the basics that will happen if I don't do anything. If I just drink the stuff, what'll happen? Like if I don't exercise, I don't eat better. Just if I just drink your powder, what happens?
You shrink a couple inches, I think.
And he's well, yeah, that's all I need. He said at the very best, your blood sugar will be amazing.
Well, that's great. We got to give it a good effort, though.
Yeah, 30 days, dude.
Diet, exercise. Are you down for this?
I just say we test the product on its own. If I lose 5 pounds, I go, yeah. If my blood sugar dropped, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I'm gonna do I got to do some kind of cardio. I walk around my neighborhood.
Hey, is there a way to test your blood sugar on the air? Like, do they sell them at like Walmart?
Yeah, you can buy something that'll prick your finger and
tell you what it is. Yeah. We're gonna do that on the air.
All right.
And
I'm gonna pass out, just so you know.
From pricking your finger,
dude, it's bad with me. I want to.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna punch you in the face. You bleed a little bit, and I'll stick that on there. Will that work?
It might.
Yeah, I think it
might be good. Might be good content. Me passing out on the show.
It might be, dude. I have no idea. But listen, everybody, thank you. We'll talk more about Unicity tomorrow. 5 tomorrow? Can we do it earlier?
5 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah, it'll probably be 5 tomorrow.
Okay. 5 tomorrow, everybody. Thank you so much.
5 p.m. East.
And thank you for the support, everybody. And we will see you